Welcome to Meet the Candidate with your host, Sue Lonnie Madsen. Meet the Candidate is your opportunity to see local candidates and hear about the experiences that have shaped their lives. Meet the Candidate is a nonpartisan community project brought to you by our friends at Greater Spokane Incorporated, Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe, We Vote, and Better Spokane. Now, here's Sue Lonnie.
Okay, welcome to Meet the Candidate. And my guest for this session is Dave Lucas, who is running for the 3rd Legislative District, Position 2, Representative.
Yes, ma'am. Here in Spokane.
Here in Spokane. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you.
And this is just an opportunity to get acquainted. And we were getting acquainted before we started, and we thought we better turn the microphone on. Let's start with a little bit about the real background, where you grew up and went to school.
Okay, so I grew up in a really small town, probably analogous here to Davenport, maybe even a little bit smaller. It was a little bit less than 1,000 people. Great little community, great opportunity, really some of the same qualities and values very similar to here in Spokane, which is one of the things I just so much love about being here and a great place to raise kids. Is it's just such that wonderful community and contact of friends, neighbors, people you meet on the streets. You know, as I do doorbelling now, the people I meet across the community are just great, wonderful people.
Well, what were some of the things you most valued about that growing up in that small town, some activities you had a chance to do?
So the lack of risk was one of the great things of being able to get on your bike and ride to the lake, or get on your bike and ride to the pool, or I have wonderful memories of 4th of July and being able to just run around with friends and watch that was one of the traditions there, is everybody would donate by these buttons called I Bought the Works. And you would basically, I think they were, when I started there, they were probably $1. I think they're $2 or $3 now. And being able to run around and friends and not really worry. I mean, I don't remember my parents ever fretting or worrying about what I was doing. And the few times I did something I shouldn't have, it was very humorous, because before I even got home, my parents knew that I had done something I wasn't supposed to, and a friend or a neighbor had called and, you know, do you know what your son did? And would walk in and, I heard you were throwing rocks, or you were doing this, or you were throwing balloons at so-and-so. Yes, I'm sorry, you know, and whatever the punishment it was for it. But yeah, it was a great place to grow up. It was a great place to work as a young kid and just be in a very just safe environment where you really didn't have to worry about things and make great friends and have wonderful activities.
What kind of work did you pick up then?
So it was very funny. So I actually got a job at when the movie theater, they brought a movie theater back into town, which was one of the big to-do things. And so lined up early with my tie and my, you know, when you had to type on a typewriter, my typed resume. And that was one of the reasons after the owner said why I got the job, because I was one of the few people who took the time to do that. But what they didn't realize was I wasn't old enough to work without a work permit, because that was in the days when you had to go find. So they had decided they weren't going to hire anybody for that, but they had, from the interview, decided, hey, we're going to hire you. Then they had to go back but it was a wonderful job. Obviously started just working as a cashier, you know, taking money for popcorn and helping. Ultimately ended up running the theater, learned how to run a projector. And, you know, again, in a small town, you know everybody who walks through. So it was just a really neat, quality place. And then, you know, plenty of summer jobs in addition. Worked at the pool as a lifeguard. I worked in town, helped people move, did yard work, mowed lawns, you know, the traditional traditional odds
type
and ends of things that you did as a young man to work and earn money and, you know, be involved in the community again. And you knew, you know, and that's one of the other great things of knowing people and having all the neighbors around, you know, wonderful place to be. Well,
after that wonderful childhood and high school, what further education and training did you go on to?
So I always felt and kind of drawn to service. And so as we talked before, I ended up joining the Marine Corps, but even before that I was involved in Scouts, you know, graduated as an Eagle Scout, went on to college, did my undergraduate in economics and political science at the University of California, Davis, and then
was that before or after Marine Corps?
So that was before. So I did. Okay. So I did that through ROTC. Helped pay for part of my school. So I did ROTC at the University of California, Berkeley, and that was a great program as well. Getting an opportunity to meet some diverse folks and learn a lot of different things. And then graduated from school and went on to the Marine Corps and spent a little over 21 years in the Marine Corps. Retired as a lieutenant colonel. traveled pretty broadly. I was an artillery officer, so did, big cannons, but as I tell people, really the last many years of that was really just working in broad organizations. My last combat deployment was to Afghanistan, and I was in charge of the Afghan National Security Forces Development Program. So basically the police, the border patrol, the army, all of the forces that were Afghan nationals that we were training to take over responsibility for security of the country. And so worked with the advisors and the other leaders that were in the country to help work with that. And so that worked with a lot of different services. We had conventional forces, we had special forces, we had foreign country forces. It was very interesting and obviously covered about the southern half of Afghanistan to help basically build their security infrastructure. So it was a very good experience. Traveled a lot around the country, just meeting with different folks, governors of different precincts, police chiefs, Army commanders, Border Patrol chiefs, things like that. So it was pretty interesting. Traveled, got to see some very interesting things. One of the more interesting things was in a place called Lashkargah down by the river there that runs through it. There was an old relics of a fort that basically Alexander the Great had built. And you think about that, thousands of years ago, somebody had been there working in that country. And so really offers a very good perspective and a real joy when you come back and get to meet just the wonderful people and the community and the sense of altruism and service that you see here. Because we take that and try to offer that to these other countries to try to help them to adopt some of those great traditions that we have of helping your neighbor, helping folks out to do better, help to facilitate success, whether it's through volunteering in your community or working downtown at a shelter or trying to help at a soup kitchen. I mean, there's lots of working in the neighborhoods. So it was a good experience to see and really help in another country as well.
We don't have that kind of 1,000-year perspective on things, or more than thousands of years, more than just 1,000. So you retired out of the Marine Corps, and what brought you to Spokane?
I will sometimes facetiously say a girl, but back to as we talked about, we really wanted a place where we could raise our sons. I have two little boys, and wanted some of that sense of that small town, community, people of really good character and just that really great neighborhoods. And so my wife had gone to Gonzaga, and so we had a connection here, and we have friends that were here. But really, it was that community that drew us here and have been just a wonderful embedding into the community. We've had such a wonderful experience, as we say. I mean, the neighbors, the friends that we've met, you name it, it really has been just a wonderful transition, and couldn't have picked a better place. I mean, we've seen a lot of places around the world, and really we're honored to be able to settle down here in Spokane. It's been a great place.
Well, you've obviously described a life of service in many ways, but elected office is a different kind of service. What prompted you to volunteer for elected office?
Well, I've been involved in a lot of volunteer effort in the community a lot, and so I've seen a lot of the both good and bad. And most recently, there were some things that came up, and just as I've worked through, I just don't feel like we were being well represented. And things that I would see come back, and you read the paper, and you're like, that isn't something that Spokane would believe in. Why are we doing that? That isn't something that, that isn't going to benefit somebody who's trying to get to work every day and pay their bills and be successful and raise their kids. So why are we agreeing to this? Why are these people voting on these and going down this road that I just don't think was fair representation of Spokane? So the more I won't say I anxiously accepted this calling, but the more I researched it and looked at it and realized that if you're going to make a change, you've got to get involved and make a change. You can't just sit on the sidelines and go, well, you know what, that isn't really what I think we should do, or that isn't really in Spokane's best interests, and was in a position to do it. And so talked with my family, and we decided to make the leap and get involved and really try to make a change, a positive change for everybody.
Well, you kind of already answered that last question, which is why should voters choose you? But if you've got, the last 20 seconds.
The last one. So I really want to represent Spokane, and I think that is something that I would love to, the privilege and the honor to be able to say I do represent Spokane. But I think my experience, the training and the effort, very broad, and the leadership to be able to bring together people and to really work for the things that will benefit Spokane, help the folks to really lay the foundations and kind of facilitate their success. And I get a lot of personal, I love seeing that, whether it's involved in Boy Scouts or it's involved in the Marine Corps or in the neighborhoods. I love seeing people have a great life and succeed. And so I think I can help with that and would love the honor and the opportunity to do that. So I do ask Spokane to support me and to give me that opportunity.
Okay. Well, congratulations on stepping up.
Thank you.
Luck, Dave,
I appreciate it.
Stay hydrated while you're doorbelling.
It's been wonderful. Like I said, I've really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Meet the Candidate. Spokane Talks thanks our community-minded partners, Greater Spokane Incorporated, the Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe We Vote, and Better Spokane for helping make Meet the Candidate possible.